A very good afternoon for everyone here. Seeing everyone is already well seated for this session. I would like to again reintroduce the second session of the parallel meeting, which will be entitled Designing Effective Cross-Border Renewable Energy Certificate Systems to Accelerate Renewable Electricity Trading. For this 1 hour session, we will have a scene setting presentation and then followed with a panelist dynamic discussion. So without any further ado, may I introduce myself? I'm Gadis Liberty and I will be the MC for this session. And I would like to start the session with a very insightful presentation of the scene setting from Ms. Jang Soyoung as a Senior Manager of Energy Consortium of the SEMI. To Ms. Jang Soyoung, I would like to present you to the floor. Thank you.
Everyone can hear me? Okay, maybe better. Okay, so good morning, everyone. So my name is Soyoung from SEMI. SEMI, we are the Industrial Association of the Semiconductor Industries. I'm the senior manager of the Energy Collaborative and then consortiums. So it's a very pleasure to share today how credibilities enable, the scale renewable energy and why building trustworthy energy mechanism is essential for the semiconductor industry clean energy transitions. So I start my anyone can? Okay. Okay, so I think I just want to give some short intro about the SEMI. So SEMI represent the entire actually electronics, the manufacturing and design ecosystem of the semiconductor value chain, from materials, equipments, and also to device and system manufacturing, including hyperscalers. So we have more than 3,500 member companies worldwide, and then we're connecting and collaborating and innovating across region, including the US, Europe, Japan, Korea, and Taiwan, China, and South Asia, and India. So through this global reach, the SEMI, the drives alignment on sustainability technologies, and then the policy and the delivering the world innovative industry opportunities. Yeah. So in our SEMI, in collaboration platform, we have almost like more than 100 program we have, but we also have a top priority. So the global advocacy, sustainabilities, and also talent developments, and also supply chain is our key top 4 priorities. I think it's not working. Maybe someone can help to run this slide. Okay. Yeah. So in our SEMI collaboration platform, there is a two of SEMI flagship leadership platform, which will take place in December 2025. So the first one, the SEMI International Policy Summit, will be held in Singapore at December 11 to 12. We bring all the senior executive and the policymakers to address industry talent, energy and emissions and PFAS, and supply chain resilience. And another, the one is the Global Executive Summit, GES. We also follow in Tokyo, December 15 to 16. So hosted by the Google and together with other hyperscaler together, alongside the Semicon Japan, the focusing on energy, emission, and efficiency. So, together, SIPS and GS serve as a cornerstone, gathering that bring industry leaders together to share the insights and align strategy and drive the collective action toward a more resilient and sustainable semiconductor ecosystem. So these are some of the invitation. Anyone interested, please sign in. Any questions, reach out to us. So in sustainability, as I shared, is one of our top priority, and we have a key 4 pillars. One is AHS. We're more focusing on the regulatory and then policy alignments, and including the GHG and PFAS. And ESG, we're driving a water, waste, and circularity initiative. Third one is a semiconductor climate consortium. So we focus on the scope 1, 2, 3, and emission reporting. So these are the kind of our industry decarbonization main consortium. So we almost cover the global semiconductor emissions, more than 70%. So members join and we're driving decarbonizations. The last one is Energy Collaborative. So our main platform driving the renewable energy expansion across Asia. So together, these pillars create an integrated approach to overcome sustainability challenge and translate industry vision into coordinated actions. So, I just want to highlight, why actually semiconductor, we are very focused on the energy topic. As I mentioned, we launched the Semiconductor Climate Consortium in 2023, and the following year, 2024, we launched the Energy Collaborative, because the first, when we started Semiconductor Climate Consortium, our baseline study that more than 80% of the emissions came from the energy. And then this energy topic we have to handle separately, and then it has to work with the various ecosystem partner, and also has to rely on all the policy, the topics together. So in here, you can see that almost 80% of our semiconductor emissions came from, and really this decarbonization depends on the energy topic. And we really see that more than 40 gigawatt gap is existing, especially in Asia side. So, in short, net zero for the semiconductor industry is very fundamental. Electricity is a challenges. Oh, okay. So this is kind of our energy collaborative. So energy collaborative, we have main semiconductor leaders join, and we drive it. This energy scaling up, renewable energy scaling up topic we cover. So EC brings together corporate, also the utilities and regulators, and then the financier and technology provider together to driving this scaling the renewable energy topic. So we have more focused countries: Korea, Japan, Taiwan, and Singapore, Malaysia, which is key our semiconductor regions. So by sending unified market signal and fostering the public-private collaboration and partnership, so EC aims to unlock multi-gigawatt renewable energy capacity by 2030, ensure that both fabs and supplier can assess affordable the source. So through this, our EC now is heading to 2 years. We identified each reasons the key policy barriers. So as you see that the Korea side, we are very challenging for the expansion. So not much sourcing, and we really strongly advocate to the government. The RE expansion is essential, and the procurement topics. In Korea also the utility green tariff, we really pushing to Capco utility side and the Korea government to endorse this topic as well. Japan, expanding solar and offshore wind while improving the grid flexibility, also the better competitive the procurement options. Taiwan, more flexible the procurement, the mechanism we needed, and also the joint procurement model we try to address it as well. The Singapore, everyone knows that cross-border energy trading is kind of key topic, but international recognition still is the issue. So we're driving with the Singapore government together this compliance recognition topic as well. So Malaysia, improving CRES transparency, and then recent some of our winning SEC charges was the kind of a key topic. We had a very good conversation with the Petra. Some of the discounts we made it, so a little bit our members are a bit happy, but still far away. We have to driving this topic together, but we hope that Malaysia also have a more competitive renewable energy market as well. So, each program is co-developed with the members and also local governments to ensure that renewable assets align with the industry needs. So here is we each identify topic, and then we address this topic to the government. We hold it, come from the round table and address these topics. So we are working in Korea side MOTI, and now is a MCEE, and then the METI Japan, MOEA Taiwan, MTI EMA in Singapore, and the Petra in Malaysia. We close work with them and then address the agenda and try to reshaping, improving the policy of the renewable energy. So here you could see that the semiconductor market is projected almost like grow 2.5 times. Is almost like from the USD of 520 billion in 2023 to 1.3 trillion by 2030. So the industry is growing, but at the end, when industry grow, at the end, our side is like an electricity demand is gonna growing together. And at the end, we have to consider very aggressively about decarbonizations. So renewable energy capacity demand is getting higher and higher. But when we look into Asian market, the speed is not matching our demand. So we are kind of key advocating to the government when we meet them. We just urge them, our target, what is demand, collaborate with the partners. So as you can see here, we see how our semiconductor companies' Scope 2 goals directly support their customer Scope 3 emissions. So for example, like TSMC, Samsung, Intel, ASML are targeting 100% renewable energy by 2030, between 2040, aligned with the customers like Apple, Google, Microsoft, and Amazon, who will seek the net zero by 2030. But this alignment shows that renewable energy procurement is not only corporate responsibility, it's not individual corporate. It's actually value chain expectation and enabler of the global net zero progress. So this chart actually highlights how regional, a bit different of the energy mix part. So, when you could see that the Europe grid average 245 the gram of the CO2, while Asia is a key manufacturing hubs, Japan, Korea, and Taiwan remain still very high. They're, the CO2 400, almost like 500 the gram of the CO2. Malaysia, Singapore is more higher, but this uneven energy mix shows why policy reform and also the grid modernizations and investment accelerations are the essential to make the Asia's power system compatible with the global decarbonization goals. We could see that actually Malaysia, we also have a lot of our semiconductor value chain located. So it's gonna, the industry is kind of growing, but we also could see that Malaysia has also a bunch of the potential for the solar. So if actually we really make the momentum, I think we can really reach it at 20 gigawatt, the solar, starting by 2030. I think we really wish it to kind of momentum in Malaysia as well. And then Singapore, the renewable supply is actually, it's gonna be like projected at 30 to 40 terawatt hour by 2035, but actually there's a huge gap. So that's why we also advocate to the government that how we're gonna make it the gap accelerate as more renewable energy supply as well. So I think today's main topic is about like how this credibility is, align with the, is it matching to our renewable energy expansion part as well. But I want to kind of emphasize that scaling up the renewable energy really depends on the credibility, I could say, and how trustworthy and transparent national schemes are very important. It's actually, I just want to give some example in Malaysia and Singapore and South Korea, which is kind of main, driver to procurements of the renewable energy, but still issue for the credibilities. So that's why we are strongly advocate about each Malaysia side is like the get, still, I think the traceability and transparency issues, our members also concerned about this, the credits. So, and also some of the question about whether this, Malaysia reg matching to the RE100 compliance recognitions. So that's why this is one of the agenda. We also try to work with the Petra, get the more compliance recognition as well. And Singapore, the cross-border energy trade framework, I think Singapore government is actively leading, building this framework agenda, but still international compliance recognition is still in the process. But our industry side, we needed more source, but this compliance recognition issue is not solved. We can't really kind of take it confidently. So that's why we're addressing this issue to the government. I think the Singapore government also proactively address this issue together with ASEAN, get the more clear market boundary as well. And South Korea side, like green premium is one of the most often used, but still there's an additionality issue because previously also we addressed about the transparency and traceability issues. We address it. Government side, they actually improve it. Kind of short period, they do that, but still kind of additionality issue is there. So we also advocate how to improve this one. So like, I'd like to conclude that I think, credibility, I could say that enables scale the renewable energy. So the first, regional strengths and lessons, like each country offers valuable insights that Singapore's cross-border energy trade framework demonstrate highest credibility potentials, supported by the treaty-based compliance RE100 recognitions and regional oversight mechanism. Malaysia has a simpler the structure, but need more strength for the REC auditabilities and more like traceability issue has to be solved. And the Korea Green Premium, I think they're gonna weigh to improve the additionality improvements. They're gonna do that. So, but these are the kind of common, some procurement mechanism, common kind of gap is the credibilities issues they have. Of course, the reason two major issues remain consistent, like weak traceabilities, inconsistent retirement systems, and continue to undermine the trust and lack of additionalities, where the premium or tariffs fail to fund a new renewable energy capacity and prevents this program from delivering real decarbonization outcomes. So third one, credibility as the foundation of the scale. So credibility is not just the compliance requirements. It's a kind of a precondition for scaling renewable energy. So when market trust every REC or premium directly support the new capacity, so we unlock more confidently. So I often excited we complete more the bankable, the renewable energy source we can secure the source. But lastly, I think policy prioritize going forward. So government and utility must focus on the two, I think, core actions. So more like guaranteeing the additionalities. So by linking every corporate premium or tariff with directly new renewable energy generations, aligning national scheme with the GHG protocols, also RE100 standards. So ensuring the international recognitions and transparency, I think is key issues. So in summary, scaling renewable deployment requires strong traceabilities, additionalities, and also alignment with the global standards. So I don't want to say like credibility is only a compliance one, but it's more like foundation for the scale, I'd like to say. So when credibility is strong, that it builds the investor confidence and buyer also confident for the enable the bankable projects and unlock the gigawatt scale renewable procurement across Asia. So the SEMI, we work with the industry, also developer and the government side to scaling and improve the credibilities in this market as well. Yeah, thank you for listening.
Yes, a very round of applause for Ms. Jang So-young for setting the clear scene for our panelist discussion. So we have identified the prominent issues and potentials of the cross-border. I would like to have a quick check on whether anyone here who wish to maybe have a question? If not, okay, then we can move on to the next session, which is the essential part of this parallel session. That will be the panel discussion, which for the floor and the time, I would like to present to Dr. Tharinya Supasa, the head of Sustainable and Renewable Energy Department of ASEAN Center for Energy.
Thank you very much, Kadis, and thank you, Ms. Suyong, for very insightful and happy to see a big gap, 40 gigawatt, right? That's still the corporate need more green electricity, and also great to see a big opportunity for 2.5 times that the industry will expand by 2030. And that's, of course, pressing some kind of gap, but also opportunity for Asia, including Southeast Asia as well. And yes, now I would like to officially start our panel discussion, and let me invite my panelists to join me here. So first, again, I would like to invite again Miss Suyong Jang from SEMI Associations to join me here. And next, yes, again. Next panelists come from the solar developer side. So Mr. Arjun, Chief Executive Officer from Time Energy. So welcome to join us here. So next panelist, very popular. So he's come from TNBX of Malaysia. So welcome Mr. Mike Yong, Head of Sustainability Solutions of TNBX Malaysia. Last but not least, also very important speaker for today. So I would like to welcome Undersecretary Mylene Capongcol from the Department of Energy Philippines. All right, then we have quite variety of panelists here from corporate, from policymaker, developer, and also utility. And then, I think I would like to start from maybe Miss Jong Soo-young again. So you already present us many insight from the corporate, and thank you for sharing that. And I think we are now aware about the urgency and also necessary for REC, and also the advantage that ASEAN will gain for activating the certificate and credible REC in quicker and also in scale. So again, would like to hear from you shortly from the corporate perspective, from SEMI perspective of the representative of the global manufacturer from electronic sector. So in your experience from what you've been discussed with many and various stakeholders in the regions, so what exactly the key barrier that you face in sourcing the credible REC across ASEAN today?
Yeah, I clearly mentioned, especially when we talk about the cross-border this energy trading REC. Because in Singapore, so we have a lot of our value chain located, and then we will only kind of rely on. I know Singapore government also, we're looking to the interim local solar supply. They're complaining, but the capacity really doesn't match our demand. So we also looking to CBT implementation. But important is compliance. Recognition is important, because most of our value chain, they are actually aligned with the compliance internationally. RE 100 members, they have to get these targets. So we really kind of raised this issue last year when we started the government roundtable with the Singapore government. Actually, they didn't really realize it, how this issue is urgent. So at the beginning, they thought that, Singapore, we have a standard. You're based in Singapore, you just follow the Singapore rule and the Singapore standard. So they didn't really take it as serious. But, when we have a roundtable in October last year, and then we tell them why it matters, and then I think it was a fully buy-in, the Singapore government. So that's why they decided launching this, CBT REC framework template, and having very aggressively, communicating with others. So they're very supportive to, get our industries get the targets. So I would like to say that now I think Singapore government take the leadership to prepare this template, get the more credibility issue solved. But the next step is important, like ASEAN market boundary. So that's why I think Singapore government and Malaysia are going together, take the more leadership, get the more clear market boundaries. So when this kind of issue is solved, even RE100 clearly actually, advise us. This is kind of key condition they're expecting. Then they can recognize this CBT reg as a compliance, one of the schemes. So actually, our industry side, we are really waiting this progress discussions because our industry, most of them, I already shared that we have a 2030, very early, it's kind of soon, 5 years. So we hope that this progress make it our alignment. So yeah, this is kind of still challenging, but we can see the progress. But we hope that other ASEAN, the countries can make the more alignments and then make the clear market boundaries and get the compliance recognitions. Yeah.
Yes, thank you. I think that's also aligned with the ongoing discussion in ASEAN and also quite fit well with when we have the discussion in this, especially even for the APG and also moving next into the framework for ASEAN on the reg discussion. Thank you. And then move to maybe utility side. So as the energy utility subsidiary who are working on expand reg adoptions, and then what challenge that have you observed in the market for the past 5 years, and also how those challenge actually affects the utility ability to offer the credible reg to the market?
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Dr. Tharinya. Very good morning to ladies and gentlemen, fellow panelists. Before I start, I'd like to thank ACE for having me as part of panelists to share the thoughts from TNB. So I'm Mike, I'm from TNB subsidiary, which is TNBX. We have been working on providing RECs to our consumers, and one of the few pioneer, right, RECs in Malaysia, whereby we have started off providing RECs since 2020. Right, we launched the Malaysia Green Attribute Tracking System in iGen, similar time in 2019, almost 6 years ago. And that's where, after that, we have started off providing RECs to consumer. Just like what my fellow panelists have shared just now, right? There's a rising need for consumer to go for green electricity, and therefore we see that as a utility, how can we provide our consumers the green electricity they need with the certification that they require to meet their international standard. So throughout the years, we have started off our journey whereby we provide our consumers an unbundled REC, right? Meaning to say, customers purchasing the REC purely a certificate itself, and then they use that and match to their consumption, right? And they make their reportings and declare their offsets using their market-based emission. We first started off whereby we have close to about 20 consumers. Then as time passed by, we worked closely with the regulator and also our ministry to see how best we can then make this offering more credible. And hence, from an unbundled RECs offering from 2020 to 2021, then we have the Green Tariff Program, which is what it's known as the Green Electricity Tariff Program, GET program. Right? So this is a bundle program, electricity coming together with REC, and that is where the consumers are able to receive REC. So the REC provided by us was not something that TNB produced. We use an internationally recognized registry, the IREC standard, and that's where, through using an IREC standard itself, provide that traceability, right? As rightly pointed also, right, by Madam Jang, that there are some highlights from the industry, right? As you have highlighted, the challenges, what the industry needs, right? The credibility part of it. And as we use the registry from IREC, that is where those who subscribe for the GET program, they will receive an REC. We brand it as a Malaysian REC. And Malaysian REC entails where the source of the REC comes from which particular solar farm or hydros, right? When it is generated, which month it was generated, and that's where they use to match their electricity bill, right? They also, because it's a bundle program, they will have on their electricity bill having the details of the GT, how much green energy they have procured, and that's where it reflects on the green electricity. So yes, we see that the consumer demands changes, and in fact, we have also challenges to somewhat meet the RE100 requirement. Because RE100 requirement, what I personally find is that the requirement has become more stringent over time, and what it did not really met on that requirement was the 15 years repowering limit, right? In which we find that the nature in Malaysia, right, and probably in some countries in Southeast Asia, might not be suitable to meet on that context, right? Because we have large hydros, quite a number of them having more than 15 years in Peninsular Malaysia. You still probably have some less than 15 years in the East Malaysia side. But as we move forward and look at how the trend is slowly changing to more credible system, that is where people are now talking about green hydrogen and having a more spatial temporal matching, right? From annual matching, or some standards uses 24 months vintage matching, to monthly matching and also hourly matching. And without the hydro as the base, it's very difficult to meet that, right? So these are all some of the challenges, and hence why there's still consumer today has been subscribing to the GT program, even though they know that our GT program comes from the large-scale solar and hydro, but they're still able to accept, even though they are RE100 members and complying. So we see that the consumer demands has slightly changes. The international standards has also changes. And of course, that also gives us an opportunity to improve our services. And GT has also then evolves from time to time since its launch in 2022. So probably that's it for now.
Oh, thank you, Mike. Yes, of course. And it's keep changing quite fast, especially from last year to this year, right? And then we receive a lot of insight and also requests from our member state, like maybe in ASEAN, we should discuss how to utilize this platform to, strengthening the collaboration in this issue. And yeah, so now I think we hear from corporate sector, we hear from utility side who do a hard job to, provide the credible reg to support the corporate side. Then maybe also would like to hear from the RE provider, the real, let's say, hero who actually try to, producing the renewable energy electricity to supply from us. And understanding there are also some, let's say, pro and con dilemma, because let's say speaking, would like to hear more insight. For example, once we now have the reg market, available now, and do you think kind of how the scale that reg mechanism actually provide the additional revenue for the renewable energy project and also accelerate the new renewable energy growth? And meanwhile, we also aware about COI have two sides. And in order for the developer to jump into, the reg market, do you see any kind of challenge or barrier that you are facing as well?
All right, thank you. Thanks, everyone. I'm probably the newest guy in this renewable industry, all right? So I'm learning a lot in this past 20 minutes. Just to give some background, right? So when I was at Time.com in Malaysia is a telecom company. We are exploring into going to energy, right? And we saw REX as an additional revenue stream, right? So the whole journey, right, to understand REX, to understand how it works, and we're still learning till today, right? It's a complex thing, okay? It's very academic, very abstract, very complex, right? And everyone wants more revenue. I mean, revenue makes your Excel looks prettier, like it looks more green, right? It gets approval, right? But can I put in that revenue into the Excel to my board? Can it be defended, right? Right. So we have a big buyer here who says, I want X. Then we have the real solar here, which is me, and we have Y. But how do we transfer these benefits from the actual solar to the buyer, right? And it's real. Everything is real. There's real money transacted. We have a solar system here. We have things. But to transfer the benefits from this person to this person, we have to run around in circles, jump up. It's complex, right? And like on our end, we have a team to look at ESG as a group, right? Even they don't know, right? Right, and it was a very interesting experience. So RAC is fantastic, right? I mean, it's gonna make adoption faster, right? It's gonna make things better, right? But for us, for a developer to seriously consider this as a real revenue stream, it has to be predictable. It has to be simple, right? You know, I was telling my team that day, right? You know, like cryptocurrency, right? It's such a complicated mathematics thing, so complicated, right? But you can download an app and buy it in 5 minutes. But for me to do a rack, I need to meet maybe 30 people and discuss and paperwork, right? So that is a viewpoint, right? It's a good tool, right? I think it's a good tool to get people like your buyers, right, who are the demand, who will help the solar adoption increase, right? And I mean, the informed buyers, you guys are ahead of the curve compared to the typical industry out there, right? You're very environmental conscious, right? You ignore what the government, what policies say. You focus on what is right, right? So that's amazing. But how do we bridge these two parties together, right? Right? That is our big problem, right? I mean, to give a perspective, right? Right. So we have from Tenaga here who does racks from the large hydro, right? So if you look at solar specifically in Malaysia, right, and my numbers might be wrong here, over 40% of solar capacity in Malaysia is from rooftops, right? And they're generating solar today, exporting to the grid, right? That is a whole bunch of racks sitting there, and if you give them, I mean, they never thought of rack as a revenue stream. You just give them, like, say, 100 ringgit a month, 100 ringgit a year, they'll be happy. I mean, so if you want racks, there's 60,000 homes in Malaysia, right? But how do we transfer this benefits from this party to this party? And that's the complexity. And this we tried to do something about 3 months ago, right? And when we saw the cost, the paperwork, and the complexity, we just abandoned it. Right? I have a few thousand houses in my system, right? That's one, right? So let's look at the negative side, right? So it's amazing, positive. There's a no loss thing, right? So the negative, what we need is simplification, right? Something simple, right? I mean, from being a telecom guy, my first question is, why can't the inverter just connects to come out with a standard, connects to a cloud, and just push, and automatically he gets credit, right? One. Or the other way, we export the energy to the Tenaga grid. The rack should be automatically recognized as exported to the grid, right? I mean, there's so many easy ways to generate a rack than just to go through the paperwork that we do, right? The last bit on the negative bit, right, is that solar is a long-term investment. It's like at 10 years at a minimum, right? We need long-term investment needs long-term policies, right? Predictable, right? So, right, and policies goes across, like, it's probably a generational, at least a 10 years policy, constant policy for us to make it tangible, right? It cannot be like today it's valuable, next day it's not, right? So when Singapore launched the thing, right, the cross boundary and all that, it makes things complicated. Because I could have been accounting potential sale to Singapore and Malaysia. Singapore launches some things, now I can't, right? So this ASEAN RAC is fantastic. Harmonize, get everyone and act together. People who has land can generate this green energy to people who don't. People who have resources can do, and everything will equalize, right? That's my thoughts.
Thank you. Yes, I think it's complicated. Yes, but yeah, I think we are working on it, and at least we have we can consider your expert. Yeah, yeah, incrementally learn from that, and yeah, I think soon in ASEAN we also try to strengthen the harmonizing of REC to become increase the confidence for the corporate sector and try to extract them to invest in the region as well. Okay, then maybe just follow to what Mr. Arjun just said. Maybe just quick back to you again for the utility side, Mike. And yeah, because you're working on the, let's say, RECs in Malaysia quite a few years, and would like to hear a little bit more insight about what experience of REC, which is kind of really stimulating the growth of RE project in Malaysia. And also additionally, because we highlight the cross-border REC plans a lot, and it will be soon Malaysia and Singapore, right? Will be kind of the first, let's say, standards for the cross-border REC will happen. And how, let's say, utility work with developer and also with the corporate sector to ensure that, you know, we can supply REC in both credible and also scalable.
Okay, thanks, Dr. Tharinya. So yes, I'll probably break these my thoughts in two parts. So we have the domestic role, right, from utility to spur. That's where I have on my left, I have the consumer. On my right, I have the asset owner or the RE provider. Then the next part will be probably on the cross-border bit. Now, on the domestic scene itself, right, from TMBX perspective, we understand that how do we spur this is that we look at how we can provide more values to our consumer, right? Needing to achieve green electricity target, wanting RECs. So the key here is that we approach customers while we have the GET program. We also approach customers and seek their feedback. And that's where the requirement was that a lot of companies, organizations wanting to go for more solar, right? Rather than going for hydros, they're not looking 15 years and so forth. And to match the issues and challenges that was highlighted by Mr. Arjun from the developer side is that the whole thing looks complex. How do we simplify it, right? Because the whole carbon thing is also relatively new, right? We have some other section talking about carbon pricing and all that, some talking about MRV, right? You need to measure, report, and then verify. And that all this element comes into it to make it credible. So yes. So in order to do that, that's where we existingly have our platform called MGUTS, the Malaysian Green Attribute Trading System. And moving forward, I think as utility, we hopefully you see by next year, there was something that is the asset owners and RE developer, whereby we will able to aggregate list of rooftops and other options that you have. And hopefully with this, it gives you more newer racks, that is commission newer, aggregate it and provide to the consumer, right? That is one context. And with that, there will be more options for consumer. And just to share, right, when we talk about additionality that the consumer needs to understand where do the proceeds go, especially for the likes of the GT program, we have a program called the Solaris program, Solar Incentive Scheme, where new consumers, new domestic consumers who put up solar rooftop on their roof, they get additional incentives, right, coming from these GET proceeds. So that way it goes back to first plow more rooftops because rooftops are there. So if it's not utilized, then it's a bit of waste that you can actually put solar panel, you generate green electricity and you get the racks. So Solaris was there to plow back, and I believe that moving forward, then the ministry, the policymakers will probably have more incentives to spur green, right? So that's one of the example how the GT's additionality goes back to growing in a bigger picture. While individual companies from the demand side looks at additionally from the plant itself to grow the RE developers, then this from the bigger picture itself. So we, from the utility perspective, we hope that we will come some solutions, right, that could probably hopefully bridge some gaps, right, and spur more REC volume supply to meet the demands required, and indirectly meeting the standard. As for cross-border, the challenges that we have, right? So the key thing is in cross-border, we have internationally recognized standards such as RE100 now does not recognize Malaysia. Example, Malaysia and Singapore because they are two different regions. And I think efforts are being done between the G2G and also with a lot of, I guess, probably consultant advisors and so forth are looking at how do we harmonize all this, right? Because if we look at documents that has been issued out by CDP, they outline three things for CBAT to be recognized, right? Cross-border RECs to be recognized. One, they talk about the presence of a physical electricity flowing over. So unbundled RECs, you can borrow it everywhere, right? But there's no physical electricities, right? And there's a need to have physical electricities. Next, you must have an instrument, right, or mechanism to verify that green electricity. And that's where you have like the likes of IRAC, TIGR, and so forth. And third, then definitely there will be that accounting part, right? How do we then, if the RECs go cross-border, then how are the emission accounting goes for between both countries? So I believe that all these are going through by phases, right? And as you know, within cross-border countries. So while we do not have the direct answer now, but we already have like pilot platforms with the likes of Energy Exchange Malaysia, Energem, which is done by single buyer that allows first allow the capability part of it. Green electricity from Malaysia goes to Singapore. So you have that Energem. Then now I think the effort should be on harmonizing the standards, convincing the major reporting standards to accept such mechanism, and later on going through, opening up to more countries like those in APGs. So that's some thoughts on it. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Mike. And I think, yeah, because according to the ASEAN, to leaning towards APG, of course. And I think for Singapore and Malaysia will be the first pilot REC project that we could learn and also could be a good knowledge sharing to the other member states later on as well. Thank you very much. And move to policymaker side, maybe Undersecretary Mylene. So would like to hear from the policymaker perspective, some sort of what roles should government play to support the REC mechanisms effectively to boost up the renewable energy supply investment, as well as to unlock the challenge that has been kind of facing by the developers, the other stakeholders.
Thank you, Dr. Tharinya, and good morning, everyone. It's nice to be part of this panel on the Renewable Energy Certificate and how we can move forward. Actually, the Philippines is in the process of implementing the Renewable Energy Certificate. In fact, we have two enabling laws that would facilitate such. One is the Electric Power Industry Reform Act, or EPIRA, and then the Renewable Energy Act of 2008. The government of the Philippines has set a target of attaining 35% renewable energy share in the power generation. Right now, we are at 22%. So on the context of the Philippines' status in implementing that, we came up with what we call the compliance market, wherein under the Renewable Energy Act, we provided the mandatory policies in which electric power industry participants will be mandated to procure certain percent of their renewable energy supply to their captive market, because the Philippines is one of those market, in fact, one of the two, who is privatized and restructured. The other one is Singapore. The Philippines has been long restructured and private sector driven. So you just imagine the challenge of putting up the necessary policy transparency in promulgating this mechanism in which we can increase the renewable energy share. So we have set the compliance market, and we are now like the renewable portfolio standards, and to support that renewable energy certificate generation, we have set the what we call the contestable market, meaning these are corporate entities wanting to procure RE generation for their respective sustainability program, and those generate electricity and as well as renewable energy certificate. So we're now in the process of establishing what we call the voluntary RE market. But right now we are in transition so that all the RECs generated from the consumer procurement under the Green Energy Option Program is allotted to the mandated participants, which right now are the distribution utilities. In the Philippines, the distribution utilities are those that are mandated to serve certain percentage of RE in their customer. So right now, it should be at 19% of their supply portfolio. Now, in the context of having that, we came out with what we call virtual power supply agreement, BPPA, wherein you don't need to be physically connected to a particular consumer, but you have this contract for difference. We have a market that will process or that will dispatch the energy generation coming from that renewable energy project. We have the Green Energy Auction Program, wherein the government centrally procuring on behalf of the mandated participants just to assist them in complying with their mandates under the RPS. Eventually, there are non-RPS eligible because the RPS eligible are those that have commercial operating since 2008 or 2009. So they generate RECs. But we have legacy hydro and legacy geothermal. And they do transact business internationally under IREC or TIGR. So we're heavy on that. So recently we came up with a policy on the energy carbon markets and carbon credits, as well as the energy certificate. These two certificate outlines the difference between the two, because it's been a question whether or not you can use carbon market or carbon certificate with that of the renewable energy certificate. So we clarified that in the position we have. Now, in the context of having a cross-border transaction, the Philippines has been, through the private sector initiative, had been transacting internationally. But we set the policy that if the REC or the RE project forms part of the compliance market, they cannot sell. It's their risk, no? So that clarifies. And for the voluntary market, they will have their eventually renewable energy certificate and make it as their compliance to their sustainability programs. Now the challenge is how to make it credible, or how the betting. So in the context of ASEAN Power Grid, maybe we can up slowly if Malaysia and Singapore will be starting maybe slowly. Other Asian members will go into that, but there should be one rule, one standards, and there should be a one issuer or a REC hub that will manage these. So as long as there is that policy, that framework, each country can pretty well serve their own respective mandates and targets, but in support of the private sector investment in the growth of renewable energy, then it should allow each ASEAN member state to do their own thing because they have their respective. But we look towards one direction only as far as that. So we're looking at working on a cross-border standards, one policies, one framework as a government. And of course, again, how we move forward with the current situation we have now. Because right now, let's say that we're kind of fragmented. So we each ASEAN member state have their own policies, programs, design. No? So eventually, we look forward to that day wherein we'll have one voice as far as the REC, as far as the RE and sustainability program is concerned. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Undersecretary Mylene. That's true, because currently, you will see like in upcoming years of ASEAN, we also prioritize the, let's say, a single standards for ASEAN as well when we are speaking about the cross-border, right? And of course, as mentioned before, I think the insightful from Singapore and Malaysia could be a good experience and then can facilitate the discussion among member states. And at the end, because I think when we're speaking about the ASEAN power grid, it's kind of leaning into medium and also long term. But at the end, I think at least by these 2 years in the Hague, we should already have a single standards across member state. Because when you are now developing more, let's say, standards on residual mix or MPV, and it should be leaning toward the same and single standard which align with the APG. So yeah, I now just would like to have a last questions to all my panelists here. A simple question, but not sure is it simple to answer. So I think in your, let's say, perspective, because we are now will announce the new APAC or the ASEAN Energy Action Plan for the next 5 years, that we as ASEAN country will put our collective efforts to work together. And I would like to know, like, if you can imagine in from now to the next 5 years, so how does the successful and effective cross-border reg system in ASEAN will look like to you?
Yeah, definitely my side, the success looks like should be, recognized by the compliance. So can be recognized ID 100, so our value chain can claim the CBT reg, they're in counting. So, and definitely if it's very clear pathway, our industry gonna do the more, confidently offtake, and then they're gonna invest it. Because only this issue is not solved it, that's why they cannot actually put it the long-term investment. So honestly, we're kind of pushing them like, our target is 2030. This one has to happen before that. So we're kind of pushing them, this can happen, maybe I hope next year. So through this kind of compliance issue, solve it within 1 or 2 years, and then, our industry also more confidently invest in uptake it, and then more scalable CBT, we could see that. And definitely after this is very important, our emerging market for our industry. So our industry can more, look into more industry growth in this reason. So, and we are the industry, but why put ourselves in this topic very proactively? Because we also see that, like, even though we are self is buyer, but we saw that you cannot just wait it. So that's why it was very interesting comment to what we got it last year when we first engaging with the Petra, and then we put it the long list of recommendation to improve this renewables market. And then first comment what we received from the Petra, they said, you're the buyer, but why you put all the recommendation for the developer? They said, because actually we cannot source because no project, no permitting, not prove it that we cannot get it. That's why we put ourselves more proactively. This is an issue has to solve, then now we can get the credits. So that's why we explained that why we are doing this one. So it was very well bind, and then we could hear that from the Petra side and very active, communicate with them. So we try to work, in ecosystem together. So we, sometimes we represent the developer side, their issue to the government to change the issues as well. So we hope that this collaboration can make these Asia markets better moving forward. Yeah.
Okay. So as for me, right, playing the devil's advocate, is that one of the key things that I would love to see is that how we can harmonize better with all these major reporting standards. Okay, why? We've heard of how RE100 CDPs, they made regulations, they made guidelines, technical guidelines for our end customers to comply, right? So they have to comply to this. But what I personally, on personal context, I see that the RE100 CDPs are more towards situation that is out of Southeast Asia, right? We are not a country whereby, we are not a region with, I think, 10+1 now in ASEAN, whereby we have renewable penetration up to 100%. Malaysia's 31% target this year, 35%, and so forth, right? So the renewable energy penetration is still growing, right? So when RE100 has a lot of long lists of technical guidelines to adhere to, are very much customized to what it's out of Southeast Asia. So if we can have this more collaboration or harmonizing with them and have our own context with the renewable sources that we have so that we look at long term, right? In the long term journey, even in Europe, they are talking about full disclosure, right? You have to disclose your source of energy, not just from green, but even brown, right? Giving credibilities as we talk about credibility. So I hope that if this can materialize and we have our nature of the Southeast Asia region nature, and this could also benefit the end consumers having their investment in Southeast Asia countries, and as we harmonize between countries to have like a single harmonized framework. Solve that. It's a long journey, like 5 years or my end goal target, but I do wish to see this coming to fruition stage by stage, right? So RE100 will recognize the Southeast Asia's model as for Southeast Asia's investment and all the operating in Malaysia, in Southeast Asia, right? Rather than just blindly adopt the RE100, which is customized for the West. Right? So that's my point. Thank you.
No, well, I think simplification, right? Right. That's right. Simplification, right? I think what a lot of people don't appreciate that there's so much renewable resources in the whole region that probably can probably generate 5 times more REC than you need, right? You know, there's so much, but all these conversations we're having today makes it difficult, like different standards, different credibility, right? Credibility should not be a discussion topic, right? I mean, it should be when it's commoditized, right? When it's like, automated, right? So it's like, it's like currency. We never really, like in Malaysia, we never really say that it's a currency rail. We just accept it's rail, right? There's a trust, right? What I think that in 5 years, it's simplify, right? Democratize it. If I have a 1 kilowatt system, I can still participate in the REC as I'm having a 100 megawatt system, right? Make it cheap, right? And allow everyone to be part of the system, right? Right now, when we see the REC ecosystem, it's very skewed towards utility companies, large scale solar farms, right? Which is only maybe in any country is 100 people, right? Right. Right. So democratize it. Everyone gets involved. Simplify, right? And that's.
Yes, last but not least, Undersecretary Mylene.
Yeah. In the context of the APAEC, the new APAEC, and the cross-border physical interconnection, I guess the Philippines will be not yet integrated within the 5-year program. But as a new or the incoming chair of the ASEAN next year, we can facilitate this discussion. Right now, there is what we call discussion between Brunei, Indonesia, Malaysia, and the Philippines for some interconnection challenge, but there are challenges now to that. In the next 5 years, we see a more competitive REC transactions as we venture into a lot of generating RECs initiatives, like we have the distributed energy resources. Arjun has discussed about if you have 1 kilowatt or 1 megawatt, you be part of the market. And it's currently open in the Philippines. So that's why the target is we can do a cross-border REC transaction, but not physically connection. We have our internal programs, our targets within the Philippines, and we continue to pursue as we move towards the chairmanship next year on that fight. Thank you. We look forward to working on this in the near future. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much. And I think, sorry about overtime, but I think this is very insightful from really diverse perspective. So we are now aware about the urgency from the demand and also the ongoing discussion from utility and also from developer and policy maker side. And of course, this topic will actually become more and more important in ASEAN in the coming years, that we can expect at least in the new APAEC on the energy plan. And yeah, so I think I would like to conclude the sessions and a photo session. Okay, then thank you very much for all panelists here.